Right, hello. I might just change that light to make it look a bit less yellow. Actually, if I put it there, it's fine. I really need to do a haircut soon because I've not cut my hair in ages. So I'll probably do that next week. So anyway, I wanted to do a update stream for the new year, and quite a few people asked me when I was next doing a webcam stream. And I said I'd try and do one early this year. So there we go. I've done that now. So it's just more to let people know when there's some people on, like what's going on, what videos to expect, and when, sort of thing. Hopefully we'll get some people on in a minute. I've set the subscriber thing to like 1 month. That way people who have been subscribed since December should easily be able to come on and chat. But, it should stop spam bots coming on that literally just come on to say, like click a dodgy link sort of thing. But yeah, hopefully I'll see some people in the chat in a minute. It does say 3 people are watching now, so that hopefully means it's working. So yeah, I've had a really busy start to the new year, so this is the first video I've had a chance to do. I was hoping I might even get a chance to do some live streams earlier in the new year. Oh, that's good, Mike. Yeah, I'm all right now, Mike. I don't mind saying now it's over, although I might have told you in a private chat anyway. I was dog sitting for the first few days of this year. So I've been busy doing that, and I was hoping I might even have got a chance to live stream when I was doing that, but it ended up being such like hard work that literally all my time was taken up by the dogs. As in, they kept waking me up during the night and stuff like that. Then I felt a bit fluey on one of the days. So although I still looked after the dogs, I felt just a bit shit and rough. So today's been the first day since I'm back from the dog sitting where I've actually had a good, full night's sleep really, and my fluey symptoms seem to have gone a bit. So other than that, I'm all right. But yeah, like I said to you as well in like PM, didn't I, that a load of my family have been ill over Christmas as well. So that's been a bit, shit in terms of I've still not seen some of my relatives that I'd like probably have seen weeks ago, because they're sort of got infections or whatever on antibiotics, or they've got COVID or whatever. Now, I can't remember if I said I was buying this to you, Mike, but there's a DIAC there. I can't show the actual DIAC on the stream, but I can show the certificate for it, if that focuses. Doesn't want to focus, does it? Let's try it a bit further away. There we go. If you could actually read that. Anyway, Kakano. So the gun, the bolt action, the best bolt action that's in Red Dead 2, but it's the World War II carbine version with a folding bayonet on it, where it folds under the barrel. It almost looks like an underlever air rifle because the bayonet is literally right under the barrel. Because they had them on one of the sites, which I can't mention, on their Christmas sale. So straight after Christmas, I thought I'd buy it, seeing as it was reduced to like 200 quid or something. Yeah, that's annoying. So yeah, it's obviously just loads of crap going around, isn't it? Because like I said, loads of my family have been ill. When I was volunteering the other week, there were loads of people with like coughs there. So I reckon whatever I had that felt like mild flu, I reckon I picked that up on the Friday and then didn't show symptoms till like a couple of days later. Yeah, so although I can't show you the gun, what I can do actually is, because this will go into frame, is unfold that, look. So that's the bayonet on it. Massive like triangular bayonet. And then it just unfolds and pops back into the like handguard. Yeah, I can probably send you a link on Twitter later if I remember. But yeah, it's just because with a lot of World War II guns, they're quite expensive, so it was quite nice to get an actual World War II rifle. Because obviously the Kakano's quite old, but it's like a bit like a Lee Enfield and all those, where they came around in the late 1800s, and then we used in World War One, and then used in World War Two, normally a bit smaller versions. It's a bit like how the Lee Enfields just got shorter over time and that. Yeah, let me just Twitter at you now so you know which one I'm on about. I think it was Italy's main rifle in World War II. This isn't the place I got one from, but I'll just see if I can link a picture to this one. Yeah, let me Twitter you this, and then you'll know exactly what I'm on about. Right, there you go. If you look on Twitter now, hopefully that works. So that's basically what it is. So it's like a much shorter barrel and handguard on that one, but it's got the folding bayonet on it, because obviously they realised they didn't need bayonets the rifles as long as it's like if you've seen the length of my Schmidt Rubin and that, like the old Kakanos were that long, and then over time they just made them shorter and shorter. So I said I'll do a video on it soon. But like I said, the problem has been recently that, like I said, I've just been really busy and then felt a bit ill, so I've not had time to do videos. But I'm hoping by next week, because by next week I'm just back to regular dog walking during, the days I'm not actually on work shifts. That should mean I've got plenty of energy. But like I said, this week's been kind of sort of doing all the stuff for like 3 days of the new year, and then just being exhausted as well, feeling a bit ill after that. Yeah, basically about 2/3 of the length for that, because they've just cut them down and like reduced the wood, and then just put a folding bayonet on it. Because the old ones had a really big bayonet like the Lee Enfield ones that just clipped on the end. So this is probably most similar to what's it, Lee Enfield number 5, I think, the Jungle Carbine. But yeah, it's just like a lot of armies started doing that in the 40s, where they realised you didn't need that bigger rifle barrel, because you were never really shooting at people, the distances that the cartridges went out to. So most of them ended up being like 500 yards or less. But yeah, I think the good news is, Mike, at least that, like where I was saying about my second cousin or whatever it is, who was really ill, I think he's getting better now. He's in hospital. I think he's actually been discharged from hospital now, but won't say too much about that on here. But yeah, the good news is he seems to be responding to all the antibiotics and that. But again, it's, all this strep stuff. It's obviously, if your kid gets infected, the doctor shouldn't fuck you about and should immediately put the kid on antibiotics, not say, oh, come back in a few days or whatever, where obviously it can be really dangerous. What's my favourite gun? Probably the FAL. Again, the annoying thing is, on streams I can't pick them up and show them because that's against the rules now. I think the 84 there in the background is discreet enough that YouTube doesn't seem to mind it. But yeah, lots of the other ones I can't, pick up just because it causes problems on streams. But yeah, so in the new year, the video says the one LX Saint asked me to do about 2 weeks ago, and I do want to do it. But every time I delay doing it, there's more content I can add to the video on that one. So that's at least the only good thing about delaying that one, is every few days there's a new sort of thing I can take the piss out of to put into the video. All right. And yeah, the other thing is, obviously I'll be doing a video on the Kakano, because you can't show it on the stream, but you can do a regular video on it. It might end up, though, because it will be easier to do the Kakano video, I might just do that first, just so there's a new video out for the new year, I'm pretty sure it's an M38. It's the carbine one. Let me search M38 and see if it's the same model. So yeah, it'd be the M38, but the carbine version with a folding bayonet. Yes, but probably the full length one, I think, not full skin, not the carbine version, but both, if you are at the right range, would work. All right, Frax, I've had a very busy start to the new year. I was dog sitting for the first 3 or so days of it, and that was really draining. And then I got ill while I was doing that, so that was even more draining, because the dogs definitely missed not having the family around when I was dog sitting. So each day they were getting more and more anxious and needed more and more attention. But thankfully, I seem to be over the worst symptoms of like the flu-y thing I picked up. Because I had the flu jab this year, it actually seems to work quite well. Because every time I've been into contact with people that have complained they felt really ill with flu, I've not felt that bad. You know, if I've picked up something, it just felt like, you know, I'd have one day where I felt shivery and tired, and that was it. So that's good at least. So yeah, I'm hoping as of the start of next week, I'll start on the videos again. You know, I can probably do a stream tomorrow and whatever, but you know, I'm glad all the Christmas stuff is over. In all honesty, just because you know, it's just as nice as Christmas is, it is just with like work and everything quite draining in terms of having to do lots of social stuff. You know how busy work gets, and then all the other stuff. The Stalker 2 trailer looked good though, saying about that. Jorkug, if I'm saying your name right, or Jukug. Because yeah, the Stalker 2 trailer surprised me. That actually looked like it had some proper gameplay in it. Right, Rich? Because there's definitely bits where you could notice it was like garbage or army warehouses or something from like a bit of the trailer. I did see some people were complaining that there was like a compass thing at the top of the screen, but there's literally a 3D minimap in the original Stalkers, or like a 2D minimap. So I don't understand the people like, oh, they've casualized the game because they've changed one kind of minimap to another minimap. Because yeah, unless you're playing Stalker with mods, you always have like in the bottom left a little you know, thing that shows you where the enemies are. They glow red on it, a bit like the motion tracker in like Aliens or whatever. So I don't get the complaints about that being casualized, but so like, I'm hoping it's good. I'm going to buy it obviously because it's a Ukrainian developer and I want to support them. And one of the developers of Clear Sky got killed a couple of weeks ago fighting the Russians. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm mainly glad now. Most of the Christmas rush stuff is over, so you know, everything's going to quieten down a bit. You know, like with all my work type jobs, they're so much busier over Christmas. Well, the reason I was originally skeptical a bit more before this trailer is I thought it was going to be a lot more like a bit like Metro, where they were going to railroad it. You know, it'd be lots of cinematic bits. But as they've got some obviously open world maps that are in the older Stalker games, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Because you know that's what I was worried about before, that it was going to be one of those things where lots of the game would just be you walking down a corridor, then like a cutscene happens, then you're walking a bit more, sort of thing. But that's the point. I need to cash out my PayPal thing that Flazzy sent me, which was very nice of him the other week. I need to use Authenticator, don't I, and everything to get into PayPal because I've got that very secure. Right, let's find my code for that. Oh yeah, let me cash that out now because that was very nice of him. What was this other thing I sent? Was that? Oh, another Ko-fi thing. That's nice. All right, I've had two people, so that's very nice. Them both sent me a thing on there. So I need to add theirs together and then take it out. I might just do it as soon as the stream ends, but they're very nice. Thank you for the other person as well that sent me one. I can't pick it up because of YouTube policies. It's an AT4, so you know, the Swedish thing before the N law. So it's just like a high explosive anti-tank rocket. It's just a tube because they are like the fire once tube. So you shoot it. I've got a video on it. So all it is, it's when the only deactivation they've really done to that is once it was fired, they've just literally welded a rod on either end of it so you can't load a rocket into the tube. It's essentially just an empty piece of, you know, like fiberglass pipe or whatever, metal and fiberglass. But yeah, there's a video on it if you want to see it. But again, the annoying thing with YouTube is on live streams you can't pick up guns or crossbows and things like that, even though you can do it on a regular video. And again, I know they have some weird logic on why that is, but yeah. So if you want to see my video on it, there is a video I've got on the channel of the AT4. But yeah, it was just at one point they were really cheap as deac launchers to buy, you know, like way cheaper than RPGs and all those. That's quite a while ago then. Yeah, I've been doing videos every couple of weeks and streams quite regularly, but I'm hoping now it's the start of the new year and work's calmed down a lot because, the worst of the Christmas rush is over. I'll get a chance to do videos a lot more. Cheers. I mean, I've obviously tried to keep it looking relatively okay because obviously you'll be able to tell I've shaved the rest of my face. The only problem, like, it seems to grow like fangs after a while. So unless it's waxed, like the bit there and a bit there grows longer. So if every time I trim it, it looks all right for a day, and then those bits grow faster. So I could grow a Hitler tash faster than a normal tash, but not that I'd actually want to do that. But yeah, MKid, it's like the logic I don't get as well is like, lots of the comments they hide. Well, we found out on some other channels, people could post a comment, but on mine they can't, even though I've not blocked any words from it. So what's the logic in that? But it's just one of those irritating things, really. Because yeah, there was people that couldn't like make comments to do with asbestos on my channel. Like they keep just hiding the comment YouTube when they made it on stream. But on other channels, they could talk about asbestos and the things. So it's like they started tailoring banned words just to certain channels. So yeah, this isn't going to be a super long stream, by the way, today. It's just I wanted to do an update one for the people that hadn't seen a stream in a while or whatever. But yeah, the good news is, like I was saying, is I'm hoping that now it's New Year and my work is going to have quietened down a lot. I'm going to have a lot more time to just do videos. Again, I'm still sadly probably not going to be able to do more than 1 or 2 per week plus streams, but it's still like the thing now. I'm not having the thing of really long shifts every day where they're really busy, where I get exhausted, and then just don't want to do anything when I get home or whatever. Because obviously that's the problem with Christmas. You have the socializing aspect of it, and you have everywhere people work is always busier, and you get ill more often because, like I said, everybody's got germs and they're spreading them around. So I'm hoping quite soon there's going to be a period where there's not as many germs going about, and everybody just feels, oh, and that's fake bird shit on the mug, by the way. That's not real bird shit. Saw some family. I didn't drink myself. I was designated driver, and I didn't mind doing that because I thought that way I won't regret it the next day. So it was nice to see some family. We had a takeaway in that. But the problem was one of my relatives was coughing quite a lot, and then a couple of days later, I had something. So, I think I probably picked it up from them or somebody else I saw the other day that was coughing before them. Oh, that's cool. I picked up recently MKid, but I've recently washed them and I'm waiting for them to dry out again. The Swiss tank coveralls. So Alpenflage, like the reddish camo. I managed to find an unissued one that was exactly in my size. So, I can wear a little bit of clothing underneath it and it's still not too tight. That sort of, size, but it's not too long in the arms or too long in the legs. And yeah, it was still in its original plastic wrap. So I've had to wash it because I wore it one day dog walking when it was pissing down the rain, and then it got really wet. So I obviously just put it in the washing machine after that, and then it says not to tumble dry it, so I've just had it hanging up. And obviously because it's not very warm this time of year, it doesn't dry out very fast. But yeah, then don't breathe through a leaking filter the brick. Oh, that sounds good, Rich. But yeah, sounds interesting. Keep us posted on that. Yeah, I have the problem, MKid, where I'm taller from like the stomach up than I am in my legs. So if I'm sat down at a table, I'm normally about the same height as people that are like 6 foot something. But if I'm stood up, I'm obviously like a lot shorter than them by a few inches. So that's the weird thing for me with clothing sizes is if I'm buying trousers and shirts separately, it's not a problem. But in a lot of overall type things, I struggle because my legs aren't like they don't look freakish or anything. But it's like for most people, it's like they halve, I guess, your height between legs and stomach. Where for me, it's like probably 2/3 stomach. About 5'8" fracs. Or that's like 173 to 175 centimeters, isn't it? I think in um, like modern measurements. But like I said, the weird thing is if I'm sat down, I've got relatives that are like 6'3", and I'll be the same height as them sat down because they've just got really long legs compared to like, torso sort of thing. So if I had a chair at the same height as me and like my uncle was sat next to me, he's like 6'5" or whatever, he'd barely look any taller than me. That's the weird thing. But it's just purely down to like leg length, I guess, because I'm taller than both my parents. But yeah, it's just one of those weird things. So, but yeah, that's why it's a bit of an issue with clothing. But like I said, that Swiss thing fits me fine because they did different leg lengths with the chest sizes. Oh, thank you very much, Innocence Movie. Foliated glass, as in what, like thorium in it? As far as I'm aware, no, because when I had one, I've got the A at the moment, but I did have an E that I did some videos on. I tested it with a Geiger counter when it was turned on, to prove it didn't make X-rays, like lots of people said, shooting out into your face. And the Geiger counter didn't go off at all. So if there was thorium in it, the glass should have made the Geiger counter tick a bit. I mean, I didn't check it with a gamma spectrometer or anything, but I doubt it's thoriated, glass, especially because the Soviets are quite cheap. And generally, it was like very high-end lenses that used thorium in the glass. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, it didn't, because like I said, when I had one and I tested it for radiation, when it was turned on, you just got background levels running a Geiger counter across it. Modern ones just for the simplicity factor, so like cool retro factor, the old ones. But in terms of something that actually works, modern ones, just because they have better battery life for like smaller batteries. A lot of them are mobile phone sized rather than being a big unit you have to wear with like straps around you. Yeah, if you have an old gas mask, tools and targets don't breathe through the filter. Depends how old it is, but bear in mind old filters can contain stuff like asbestos or like, weird chemicals in them. So, breathing that in is not going to do your lungs any good. Hopefully it was a Finish M61. If so, I don't think there's anything dangerous in that filter other than chromium, and that's not really dangerous as long as you're not huffing it every day. Right, see you, Frax. Have a good day. Yeah, the M61, the 60mm for that should be safe, but I wouldn't recommend, like breathing through it if it seems to be leaking. But what it could also be is if it's hard to breathe, it could be that the filter's been used a bit. The filter's clogged lots of dust, so it's been working, and therefore it's the resistance has gone up on it. Because what happens with gas mask filters is the more they block particulates, things like dust and stuff like that, the harder they get to breathe through because more of it's blocking the intake essentially. I am definitely not a high earner, Crispy. Like I've said before, I do a sort of cleaning job, but I won't say any more than that. As I do a couple of like side jobs, a bit of extra money now and then. But like I said, because I've had people dox me and do all that sort of stuff before, I just don't mention now because I don't want people fucking with my employers, or like co-workers, whatever else. You could do, just be really careful when you do it, tools and target, because you don't want to get any of the filter medium, even if it's not asbestos, where you're going to breathe it in. So if you do it in a well ventilated, like outside area, and then, use a proper air blower or something afterwards to make sure you get all the bits of dust and whatever out. Because you don't want to then use it as a prop, have like fibers left inside it, and then those fibers get into your lungs. Yeah, exactly, Rich, because that's how they work, isn't it? Like with the charcoal bits in filters with gases and vapors, they're the opposite way round. As they wear the filter down, you start smelling stuff through the filter. But with the particulate filters, they do the opposite bit. They actually get more efficient the more dust and that gets in them. But obviously, when they get too clogged, you won't be able to breathe through them because it's just too much effort to pull air through them. But in theory, I think I was reading that, if you've got a slightly clogged P3 filter, or P100, whatever you want to call it, it actually gives you a better protection rate against particles than when they're brand new, because, the actual resistance of stuff to get through the filter goes up. But yeah, so when a particulate filter's clogged, that just means it's probably had a load of dust and stuff get stuck in it and it's done its job. Extremely good but cheap. That doesn't normally go together unless you can find a surplus thing. Wow. What country are you in? Because again, the surplus market sometimes has a load of like good stuff flooded for good prices, you know, as in you'll get a load of masks come up for a good price, and then you can have times where all the masks like after COVID were like 3 times what their RRP should have been. I was sent those for free by B Store. I've got 2 more in that corner I've not really looked at. Hang on. I'll have some more of my coffee in a minute. The poster behind that one you can barely see was just a reproduction of a Soviet one. So there's another one. Looks like on this one it's about, what's that, decontaminating vehicles and field artillery and your guns or whatever. Yeah, assuming this is all about decontamination, this one. That one's decontamination as well, because you can see it like wipe down your bits. So anyway, that's that one. Let's see what the other one's got on it. There's not enough room on the wall for all of them, unfortunately. And this one has got on it, yes, again, by the look of it, decontamination wipes and the thing with a filter by the look of it. So yeah, it looks like how to clean your stuff down after you've put the mask on and taken it off. So it's all just like decon instructions, I guess, on these. That's a good idea, Rich, actually. That's a very clever idea. Good starting mask. Literally whatever you can get as a surplus mask that's cheap. So say maybe like a Czech C3 if you can get, or CM3, whatever it's called, for a low price. Polish MC1s, which are basically the same mask. GP5s if you can still find those cheap. Basically, if you just want to get into gas masks, I'd say get the cheapest thing you can find that's not going to be in a rotten condition. Because there's still surplus masks that are cheap. It's just they're normally the annoying ones where you can't get filters like that are, you know, modern for them because they use a different filter thread. My name's not Mike. Mike is Weapon Collector. My name's Liam, but Happy New Year to you, Ethan. Unless you were talking to somebody else in the chat called Mike. But yeah, Mike was on this stream a bit earlier, but I think he had to go off to do something. But yeah, I haven't actually looked on eBay all that recently for gas masks, just because of the fact that I don't want to do the thing, you know, where I should be saving money up for stuff, and then I see something on eBay I want, and then I end up buying it. And it's also like a making space thing. It might not look like it from the background, but the floor of this room is really clean now, to the point that I found a load of surplus I was missing before. That's all right, Mike. Yeah, I imagine I might have to put all our decorations up in the attic either later today or tomorrow. Because it's normally around the 5th we do it in our house. I did notice my dad had packed a load of them up, you know, that were up into like one bag, which is good. So that's at least sped up a bit of the process. But yeah, for the people asking me about the air blower I was given, I don't know if the battery's in it to charge, so bear that in mind. Hang on. I put that here now, so let's get this out without knocking everything over. So yeah, for the people asking about this a while ago, at least I found this, the PAPR unit. So I'll probably need to give it a fully big recharge at some point, but yeah, if that was the on switch, I can't remember. It's definitely fully decharged. Yeah, you have to get out of its harness. But yeah, the good news is at least this has turned up again for when I want this. Yeah, it's not really a proper military one like a C420. It is a military one, but it's apparently like a German wounded soldiers one. But it still provides enough air, I found, better than some civilian ones. So this was sent to me. His eBay page is called The Nuclear Family. His name's Steve. And he visited one time and gave me a load of stuff. And also, he was the guy that brought round the FM53 so I could do a video on it, even though he was keeping that for himself. So he does, he sells like a lot of surplus things like this. And like this sort of molly type attachment for it, I think is one his wife does. Where, for the some of the units, she sews together like the molly stuff. So the ones that don't actually come with that sort of rigging, you can put on a vest. But yeah, the PAPR ones, these West German ones are actually, or like modern German ones, are actually pretty good. And he does the battery adapters as well, which is quite good. So let me get the webbing off and I can show you. Because the main problem with the some of these is they use weird battery types that you can't really get as a civilian. So with some of them they've done adapters. So you can actually just put regular batteries in, which is good. Like something close enough voltage that the unit works. Right, if I can get that loose enough to get it off, I don't really want to pull anything. Oh yeah, I need to tighten all of these as well, don't I? The little other straps. All right, Mike. Yeah, sadly, like I said, I can't really help you much with kids' NBC suits. Like I know Israel probably does them, that you might be able to find on the surplus market, but I don't actually know with a lot of the other it's just not a commonly made thing, is it? So the companies that make them, just like you're saying, don't charge reasonable prices for them, unfortunately. Right, yeah, so the batteries in this one are in this bottom container. Right, if it's a mask I don't own, probably just an FM53, seeing as they're a top-end mask. How did some of the batteries fall out then? That might have been the problem, if they've still got some charge in them. Yeah, that's where it went. Right, so, I mean, I can always redo the batteries. What was the voltage of this? So it's 5, so it's 10 AA's, so that's like 15 volts, isn't it, essentially? Right, let's try flicking it back on and see if there's any charge left in these. But yeah, the point was he's made this adapter sort of thing for it, so you can actually use them with a regular thing, rather than it just uses that sort of plug. So you don't have to have, you could probably get these as well with like 2 9-volts or whatever on them. But the point is, so a bit like the people do for the night vision set, so you can actually run them on modern batteries, not like the weird army batteries. Oh, there we go. Probably hear that now. Yeah, Stuart, I was saying at the beginning of this stream, I'll probably do that next week when I've got some free time, finally. Right, let's flick this off, wherever the little dial is. Yeah, so you can run it basically on low speed or high speed. And it can also run, if you've got the power cable for it, this unit, off of like, a bit like a vehicle supply type power cable. Anyway, let's pop this back in its thing. But yeah, that was the problem, just when the batteries had come loose. Let's get the housing out of the way, like the molly system. So, obviously, if you actually intended to use a PAPR for something serious, you'd put brand new batteries in it before, you got into a situation where you were expecting to use it. You wouldn't hope your old batteries still work. But yeah, it's a simple system because it's just a 40mm, like NATO intake in, 40mm out. So, you simply screw your 40mm filter in there. And then it's got, a hose, and he did the canvas, sort of like camo thing for it that goes over the top of it. But you could just put any sort of 40mm hose on here. And then you've got, your output. You can, Stuart, it's just the air, resistance goes up massively. So it then becomes much harder to breathe through than just breathing through a regular filter, because you've got the filter, you've got like the fan unit thing that's not operating, and then you've got the hose length. So yeah, if that unit stops working, you can still breathe, but obviously it defeats then the point of having a PAPR unit, because it's not doing all the work for you and making it a positive pressure mask. Yeah, tools and targets, that's what it does. So it basically means if you've got a mask, so if you there's two basically reasons you'd have it. One, if you struggle to breathe normally with a filter on, it does all the hard work for you. So basically you've got the fresh air constantly being blown into the mask. But more importantly, it makes the mask positive pressure. So if there's a little leak in your mask, as long as it's not a huge leak, so let's say there's a little tiny hole, because the pressure inside the mask is greater than outside, gas can't force its way in. So even when you're breathing, you're still breathing clean air. And then you've constantly, because what will happen when you're running a PAPR on a regular gas mask is you'll notice your exhale valve is basically constantly slightly open with pressure. And that's because obviously the pressure builds up in the mask. So it's a bit, firefighters' masks with airlines do the same thing. Because where I've got a couple of firefighters' masks, even the ones which you can run on 40mm, they don't work very well with a standard 40mm filter. Because of the reason that, like the pressure, they're designed to be quite high pressure before they breathe out. So like one of my masks, if I try and run it with a filter, it fogs up really quickly because of the fact that most of the time when you exhale, most of that air isn't leaving the mask. It's just like building up inside it. So if you run it with a PAPR, it's absolutely fine because the pressure builds up to the point where the exhale valve opens every time you breathe out when it adds the extra pressure. Sorry, Scary, my German isn't that good. If you're asking about the filter unit or whatever, the one on there at the moment is a Polish FP5, but you could put any NATO 40mm on there. But this is obviously just a German. It's like it came with a weird like sack that smelled. It has a horrible smell to it. It smelled like sick. But it came with like a little plastic hood, like because it's like one of those wounded people masks that. Because this one isn't a regular like military PAPR for like working soldiers, I think that's a dual filter one. This one was one like you'd have like essentially a plastic bag tied around somebody's head with an exhale valve and the filter, on the thing. And the idea is that, when the person's sedated or whatever, it works for them. Well over 100 the brick. Oh, how do I know if the filter's used up? As we were saying earlier in the stream, in terms of if you want to be really safe, you just buy a brand new filter and you use that. If you're like not doing it for anything life-threatening, if it's the particulate bit that's getting used up on a filter, you'll struggle to breathe because the more clogged that gets, the more the breathing resistance goes up. If it's the charcoal bit in it, like that absorbs or adsorbs the gases, you'll notice you'll start smelling for a filter. So when you put a brand new filter on a mask, you won't be able to smell anything. Especially if it's a combination like filter that does all sorts of things. So, if you sprayed air freshener or got banana oil or any of those things, or any like really strong smelling solvents, you wouldn't smell anything. Everything just has like a weird dry kind of tasteless, smell to it. But when a filter starts wearing out, you'll start noticing odors getting through it. So basically, if you put a filter on and it either is really hard to breathe through, or there's like horrible smells coming through the filter, like if somebody farted and you could smell it, that means your filter's not working. When the filter's working, it's essentially you're just like breathing, it's a bit more resistant than normal, and it's kind of just like tasteless stale air. All right, Peach. I probably won't be on too much longer, by the way, Peach. Sorry if you've just come on. I've got a new deactivated gun. When I say new, it's a World War II one, but it was quite cheap. So it's also in Red Dead Redemption, but it's the older version of it. I can't pick it up on the stream, but I can show you. It's a fairly recently deactivated one, only from a couple of months ago. But the main bit is that bit if it focuses. There we go. Carcano. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, Tools and Targets. Cheers, I appreciate that. What's actually been weird is there's been months on YouTube where I don't think anybody had given me any donations at all. And I don't know if it's because it's Christmas recently. I've had quite a few, which is really nice. Yeah, and I was going to say, Peach, I'm probably going to shave my hair next week. It's just been one of those things where it's been quite cold weather recently, especially like with some of those days we're having like -10 outside. I didn't really feel like shaving my hair at that point just because it was quite chilly. So I was using my hair as an actual insulation sort of layer. But it is getting to the stage now that, yeah, it sticks up a lot and it gets quite messy. So, yeah, I think next week, when I should have a lot less going on, I'm just going to shave it all off again. What the gun they look closest to, Peach, is if you look up, I've got a video on it, but the Steyr Mannlicher, the one with the funny name, because they have the exact same like magazine clip system in them. You know, where like the clip pushes down, then when the clip's empty, it ejects out the bottom of the magazine. They're really, really similar. Like the bolt's different, but the actual magazine system's identical. Um, Great. I'd say the most effective mask would literally just be any that's resilient to most chemicals and, you know, is pretty new and you can get filters for it easily. So pretty much any countries like 40mm NATO masks that are made to a good standard would be fine. Like I've personally found when it comes to a lot of like the modern 40mm masks, there's not much in them. You know, most of them are just as comfortable. They're very similar weight. Yeah, how it works is I think the clip moves down with the rounds. Um, so it's not like the Garand where it ejects it out the top, like the Garand's end lock clip. But I think it's fairly similar where the clip moves down with each of the rounds, or something similar to that. And then when it gets to the bottom, I don't know if you either have to press something or whatever, and then it literally falls out like a trapdoor in the bottom of the magazine for you to put the new one in. It's mostly all down to filter, yeah. Because filters are the bit in the mask that actually protect you. You know, the bit that protects you from gas and particles and everything. The mask is just literally to protect your eyes and make sure you're breathing through the filter. There's some old funny like training pictures on like one of those sort of things where they actually show a guy breathing through a filter like I did in one of the videos, like sucking through the filter. Because in the worst case scenario, you can at least, you know, try and make a seal around the filter and breathe clean air through a filter doing that. But yeah, I'd say as long as it's something that's 40mm NATO, just because of the fact that you can find 40mm NATO or, you know, like hardware filters that are in the same STANAG thread as 40mm NATO really, really easily in most countries. So in some of the hardware stores in the UK, they actually sell 40mm filters that are brand new. But they're not like military surplus filters. They're, you know, like ABEC kind of industrial grade filters. But the point is that, you know, hardware companies sell those because people need them in certain jobs for hardware use. Because, like, again, like lots of 3M masks and all that are good, but the only problem with a lot of the 3M masks and things like that is that they use proprietary filters. So that still makes it a bit more difficult to find the filters for a good price. Where with 40mm NATO, you get both the surplus market and you get like the industrial ones. And what's good with the industrial ones is quite often you'll get companies that sell the filters like when they're a month out of date but still fully wrapped for barely any money because they can't legally sell them as protective filters anymore. So you can buy something that's still fully sealed up, you know, like vacuum sealed and everything, and it's probably going to last another 5 years easily in its seal, but the company can't legally sell it as a protective filter anymore. So they essentially just dump them really cheaply. So that's another thing I like about, you know, where you can just put an industrial filter on a mask. Yeah, exactly, Stuart. eBay's good for 40mm. Some of the UK hardware stores, I don't know if Screwfix does them at the moment, but certainly at times various UK hardware stores have done 40mm filters because some of them used to stock 40mm masks. But yeah, like I was saying, 40mm is normally the way to go if you don't want to be like limited by a single company's like line of filters. Because the thing I like obviously about having the surplus masks or like, you know, the good industrial grade masks is if they're 40mm, you've just got so much choice in terms of various filter types and you know, like levels of protection, everything. Yeah, and again, for speaking of P3, because I've got one conveniently here. It's a bit dusty because I've not used it in ages. Again, yeah, if you're just getting a P3 filter on its own, they're only this big. You know, if you're not using it against vapors, so if you don't want it to protect you from chemicals or anything like that, if you just want it to protect you from like viruses and bacteria, you know, and like dust, asbestos, stuff like that, you just need a filter like this. Because again, it's just literally like the paper heaper sort of layer. How well that shows up on the webcam, I don't know, but you know, like the waffly looking paper. But yeah, again, that's a nice thing with stuff like that, is that, yeah, if I unscrew this filter for a size comparison, depending on what you want from a filter, you don't need a full size sort of filter like this or a bigger one. If you only need something to protect from particles for like a certain job or whatever, you just need something like this. And again, these won't expire in terms of, unless you get them like damp or store them badly. These only expire when they've been used so much they block all the stuff going through them. How comfortable was that, Stuart? I imagine any mask, when you've worn it for too long, gets uncomfortable, doesn't it? But did you find it particularly bad compared to other masks, or? But again, I sometimes think it depends how well a mask fits your face, doesn't it? Because there's masks that I know other people find comfortable, I just don't. Because I think sometimes it's like jaw size, you know, chin size, stuff like that, where some masks dig in a bit more than others. Yeah, exactly. If you were wearing a mask for like a job or needing it for a long period, I would definitely say just get the filter you need without as much bulk. Because it's like, if you compare even the size of like, you know, an ABEC 1 to an ABEC 2 or an ABEC 3 filter, they're massively different in bulky size. You know, some of the ABEC like 2 filters going upwards look like the coffee can ones, you know, because they're like that big, because of all like the filter layers in them. And you don't really want that, you know, weighing your mask down all the time. Anyway, I'll be off in a minute because, like I said, I've been on nearly 50 minutes anyway. So yeah, the plan is for the new year. I know we're into the new year now, but I'm hoping, because my work with my job should be a lot calmer now, as in, you know, it's got to the stage where people aren't doing Christmas shopping, you know, and places are a lot quieter. It should mean that, you know, I'm less exhausted from work, so that means I should have a lot more time to do YouTube stuff. I've also, you know, won't be doing as much socializing with the family and stuff like that because Christmas period's over. Although I've still got some relatives I need to see because they've been ill over Christmas. So, you know, we'll be seeing them at some point when they're like better and not infectious. But in general, stuff should be quietening down a lot, which means it, you know, it's less stressful to try and do YouTube stuff because I'm, you know, not trying to squeeze it between work and socializing with family and friends. Let me look up before I go off, Benjamin, what that one is. SPA2 NBC suit. All right, Goldhund. Let me just have a quick look for you before I go off. So SPA2, I was going to try and copy and paste it, but it didn't want to work. SPA2 NBC suit. That's the East German one. It's an all right suit, but $80 seems a bit much. Because it's not a very comfortable suit. It's just a rubberized suit. I mean, it's still, the chances are, if it's been stored correctly, you know, not in a moldy warehouse, that suit is still going to offer you really good levels of protection. It's just not going to be comfortable, because essentially that's just like wearing full-on rubber waterproofs. So if you can get one cheaper than $80, it would definitely work as an NBC suit if it's been stored correctly. It's just they're not very comfortable. The best NBC suits are if you can get a fairly modern but like still in good storage, you know, like vacuum sort of sealed, sort of modern kind of, you know, like charcoal style one. Like in the UK, the best ones I think are like the Remploy ones, like the armed police ones, because they've got like the rubberized cuff bits that are sort of elasticated on your legs and, you know, your wrists, so they automatically, without having to do up a strap around your arm, like go tight with gloves, and stuff like that. And you know, they're just like one that's, you know, like a lot lighter, and they've got like, you know, just a zip to do them up, so they're much easier to climb in and out of, sort of thing. I don't know if it's called a protector vest, but it's a French riot vest. Right, so you might, yes, yes, I've done videos on them. I don't currently own any hazmat suits, as in the full-on PAPR ones, but I've done videos on them before. It's always a possibility, the brick. Let's hope they don't. You never know. But anyway, massive thank you to anybody that donated. Yeah, I'll be off now, and like I said, I'm hoping early in well, we're in the new year, aren't we? So let's say next week I can start getting videos up. I might even get a chance to do the Kakano video on Friday, like tomorrow actually. But yeah, my plan is that, you know, I'm hoping now that all my like work commitments are quietening down a bit in the new year, because, you know, people aren't doing all their Christmas stuff. I should get more and more time for doing YouTube stuff. Yeah, cheers. Thank you as well, Tools and Targets, for the donation. Yeah, that was the just before we go off. Yeah, if you're on about that Polish, was it called the Ube 1 suit, whatever that was? Yes, PAPR powered. It had like the 6-filter PAPR unit. The current one I've got is like an airline one, but I don't have an air tank for it. So I suppose that's hazmat suit. But it's one with a gas mask separate on that one. It's not like the, you know, like kind of big visory thing. Have a good day, everybody.